Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining the Rock and Metal Guardian today. Hope you're doing well wherever you may be during this holiday season. I'm Dane, your host. Before we dive into today's episode, today's retrospective, I wanted to thank everyone for posting in the comment section and sharing your ideas and beliefs and criticisms and that sort of thing. In addition, I also want to thank everyone for subscribing and clicking the like button, that sort of thing. In addition, I also want to apologize for not putting out as many videos as I would like. I have a whole big old notebook full of ideas that I want to get to, and that's going to take some time. And I'm not one of those people who's going to put out a video just to put out a video. So before I, take something out of the notebook and go, gee, I want to do this today or this week or soon, I spend a bit of time thinking about, is this something I really want to do, that kind of thing. Sometimes I take something out of my notebook, I erase it because it's all in pencil, but then I add 3 more ideas, and so I'm constantly thinking about stuff I want to do. So again, I'm not going to do a video just to do a video. I'm going to do videos that I think really speak to the matter of what I want to do here with this channel, and that is do the things that I think are the most compelling, or things that I think will strike home that you'll be interested in, but at the same time I have to be interested in them as well. So again, essentially what I'm saying here is I don't want to do clickbait videos. I want to be honest, if that makes sense. So anyway, let's dive into today's episode. Today I'm doing a retrospective of this seminal work by Rush called 2112. Those of you who are Rush fans are quite familiar with this. I'm going to talk about both the lyrics and the music, of course, because I'm a lyrics guy. So let's go ahead and start with the opening piece, and that is 2112. I'm going to talk about the whole album, not just the title track. And, of course, the title track is the most compelling component of this album for probably 99.9% of us. So, as you know, 2112 is divided into 7 parts, and the first part is Overture. This is entirely an instrumental. You have this amazing ethereal opening, and you have this, it sounds like you're being gravitationally pulled towards something through space. Like you have this, right? That I can't echo that as much as I'd like to. And this was chosen from a number of samples that Hugh Syme did, who's like one of the 4th or 5th members of the band in many ways. And I think he had some input on album covers and that sort of thing. And definitely Terry Brown's a member of the band if you think about his production, that sort of thing. But back to the ethereal opening, it's like a soundscape. Again, it has a science fiction-y feel. Again, this is a science fiction piece, right? But it's other things as well. Neil Peart talks about how this song is in partly, I'm paraphrasing here, in debt to the genius of Ayn Rand, and of course, the band got in some trouble with that because Ayn Rand's philosophy is a bit, or quite a bit, controversial, but this piece deals with many of the things outside of Rand's philosophy that is quite close to home with respect to political freedom, personal choice, free will. So there is some positive stuff, and I'm going to focus on that as well. So back to the opening salvo. You have this soundscape of Hugh Syme. You have this flying through space feel, and as you're going through feeling this and being drawn into the soundscape, if you will, of the introduction, which is so compelling and emotive, you get this hum that repeats 3 or 4 times while you're getting this woo, right? It's great. And then finally, and that hum is repetitive, as I said, which it begs the question of you have a sense of overload because the hum is a lot of feedback. And so is that trying to dictate some of what's to come in the music that follows, this notion of sensory overload that the priests don't want to take in and that sort of thing, because it's verboten in the society in which you live in. So we're dealing with a dystopian society. And one who teaches English myself to high school students, I love to teach a good dystopia. And anyway, so the hum comes in and out, and then finally you get the drums come in from Neil. And this is the classic, what we love. One of the things we love about early Rush is that that's hard to say, that stop, start feel from the instruments. You see this in Farewell to Kings and other parts of Rush's first, through much of their discography, even in their later stuff. That's their, even in Snakes and Arrows, you get that. That was kind of returned to form in many ways. So I'm very passionate about this album, as you can tell. So you get that stop, start feel that we love. And then you get that echo, and that echo and reverb at the same time from Alex. That finally comes in. And then you get the real quick jazzy face pass drumming from Neil. Just amazing. And then finally we get Geddy's soft-spoken howling that takes a back seat in the mix, and it works well. If it would have been in the front of the mix, it wouldn't have been as effective. So you get Geddy's rising through this album. So you start off with him in the background, and then he slowly starts to take center stage. But we'll get to that. And then more drums from Neil. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Got to wet my whistle here, because I have lots to say. So you get more drumming from Neil after Geddy's voice comes in the background. Again, you get that soft-spoken howling, that wailing. You see this kind of repeated, and I think it was intentional on Test for Echo, on an instrumental, and I think that was intentional to bring back that kind of feel. I can't remember the name of the song. So anyway, the drums come in again. And then finally at the 2-minute, 40-minute mark, give or take, 42-minute mark, 2:42-minute mark, you get Alex chiming in with some riffing. And it's just great. And then finally you get a guitar solo from Alex, which is it's the first one of many to come on this track in the album. It's just phenomenal. This sets the stage for the whole album in many ways. It's great. And then finally, after the solo, the heavy electric guitar solo goes away, you get an acoustic section from Alex, and then the drums and bass are going along with that. So the band as a whole are back in the mix together, and then you get some more heavy guitars after that acoustic, and then the drum motif returns. Then you get the explosion, right? And then you get the Bible verse, and the meek shall inherit the earth. And then you segue into Temples of Syrinx, which is, for many of us, Rush's only heavy metal song. So, you get the drums. So we're going to be start talking about some lyrics as we go through here, not just the music, since now we're getting into some lyrics, as I said. So, and the meek shall inherit an earth, da 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 da, right? All the videos you see of fans jumping up and down, that's really cool, right? And then you get this minor motif that runs throughout this piece, this section of the song 2112. You get this guitar run, dun 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 dun, right? It's great. And then Geddy's wailing comes in. It's just amazing. More setting the stage of what's to come. You probably know what I'm talking about in the fourth song. And of course, I'm talking about the priest's role in this piece, their hubris, their love of technology and all that comes with that. And then you get the heavy drums, right, in this piece. And then this piece ends with the classical guitar outro that is so well beloved by fans. Now, if we look at the lyrics for Temples of Syrinx, forget Ayn Rand and her, objectivism and all that, but we look at just what Neil's writing here. This speaks so close to home with respect to the planet, with respect to the limitations of freedom and that sort of thing. There goes the cat again, wanting to mess with my picture of Neil in the back. Anyway, so we've taken care of everything. the words you read, the songs you sing, the pictures that give pleasure to your eye. So this notion of controlling everyone, what they're allowed to have, what they're allowed to see, what they're allowed to do with respect to literature, what they must think and feel. So essentially, fascism. So the priests are fascists, right? All for one and one for all, we work together, common sons, never need to wonder how and why, never question. We see this even in sports, right? Patrick Mahomes the other day, and the coach got fined because they questioned the referee's choices in throwing flag or not throwing flag, right? But, of course, politics and freedom with respect to social justice and liberty is more important than a sports game. But still, you get the point, okay? Of course, it's important to question authority when authority is clearly not having the people's best interest in mind. And that's part and parcel of what this album is about, or this song, rather. Of course, we are the priests of the temples of Syrinx, so that boasting, hey, look who we are, we're more important than the rest of you kind of thing, are great computers. So boasting about their technology. Think of Star Wars if you want for a minute. What does Darth Vader tell his comrades underneath him? Bowie, please, baby. Bowie. Sorry about that. What does Darth Vader tell his underlings underneath him? This technological construction you've created, this Death Star, pales in comparison to the power of the Force, foreshadowing his role in Return of the Jedi. And so here you have the same thing. The priests are so focused on technology. Are they really priests in the sense of, devotion and religion too? So technology is their god. They're not really priests in the sense that we know and love, right? Their cause goes against what you think of spirituality. It's more of a hey, look what we have, more of a materialistic vein than a spiritual one. And so all the gifts of life are held within our walls, more boasting. Look around this world we made, equality, our stock in trade. Come and join the brotherhood of man. What a nice, contented world. Let the banners be unfurled. Hold the red star proudly high in hand. So we all know that flags can be symbolic of a country, and for good or for ill, there's some good there. But in addition, that someone pointed out, regardless of country, flags can often be negative because they serve as propaganda tools. So definitely you have that here, the red star flag, right? And notice the bragging. They use the word equality, but there isn't equality. But we'll get to that when we get to the protagonist, right? And that's ironic, of course. Joining the brotherhood of man, joining a cult, joining an alliance, and there's good and bad that comes with that, right? When you join one cause, you may alienate yourself from others and then lose individuality. So to quote Thoreau and Emerson and those transcendentalists, society and the individual are always at odds with one another. So that's one of the problems with dystopia, whether you're talking about the books the kids read these days, Divergent series, Maze Runner, what's the other one I'm thinking of? That's the big one with Katniss, right? Or Katniss, however you pronounce her name. Hunger Games, right? So you have all these things that are elements of dystopia. You got them all here in 2112 as well. And then you get to Discovery. So back to the music. You have the opening with the waterfall. You get the tuning of the guitar. Alex is tuning his guitar. And that's important because this is the protagonist finally being introduced, the nameless protagonist. And nameless is important because nameless demonstrates that this protagonist represents all of us in some way. If not, he or she definitely represents all of us who are artistically inclined, whether it be music, painting, you name it. Creativity. And I'm going to throw a quote at you here from Ronnie James Dio from Black Sabbath. The devil is never a maker. Only God can create. Or what God has created can create. That is something good, not the devil who's evil. And so mankind can create, and God has given mankind the gift to create. And so the priests are more devils than priests because they stifle creativity. So back to Alex Lyson tuning his guitar because he stepped into the role as the protagonist for a minute, where art reflects the structure of the song reflects the content of the song. So Alex is tuning his guitar, and sidebar here, it makes me think of that song, the acoustic piece on Yes is Fragile, where Steve Howe was tuning his guitar before the song starts, right? And critics hated that. They said, why doesn't he have his guitar tuned before the song begins? Well, it's part of the song. That's what makes it, the intro, so wonderful. And same thing here. So Alex is, as I said for the third time, is tuning his guitar. And think Fragile, whether intentional or not, it's still great. And this is the only time Alex is really the protagonist, because then Geddy steps into the role, right? And so he's discovered the guitar and he's tuning it because he's figuring out what this thing is for, because art has been suppressed. Someone has buried art. The society no longer accepts art as feasible because knowledge is power, art is power, that sort of thing. And dystopian, nightmarish, tyrannical governments don't want creativity because that allows free thinking, and free thinking allows overthrow of tyrannical governments, right? Fascist governments, that sort of thing. So, the importance of art. So, Alex's discovery and Geddy's, the band's, whatever you want to call it, or the protagonist, discovery of art is tantamount to Prometheus with fire. Right? He steals fire from Zeus because he sees this as a benefit of mankind. Zeus was going to allow humanity to die. And a lot of scholars have argued that Prometheus is the fire that Prometheus steals from Zeus, that fire, that torch, symbolizes poetry, symbolizes knowledge. It's not just warmth, staying alive. Poetry allows us to stay alive because it allows us to create. That whole spiel, right? So fire is poetry, the guitar is poetry, the guitar as a Promethean symbol. Again, the importance of art. So you have this slow acoustic buildup to a more gradual, and then hitting you heavy over the head with you have this slow acoustic build up to a more heavy acoustic playing in this piece. Again, we're still talking about the presentation section of the song, okay? And as I said, the notes, whether still tuning or now it's in tuning, he's playing, and at this point, the protagonist is starting to play his guitar. He's discovering the beauty that lies within, and the notes that he's playing reflects the mood, and it reflects the lyrics. So if we look at some of the lyrics, what can this strange device be? So discovery. When I touch it, it gives forth a sound. It's got wires that vibrate and give music. What can this thing be that I found? See how it sings like a sad heart and joyously screams out its pain. Chords that build high like a mountain, or notes that fall gently like rain. So this is up and down with Geddy singing. He's taking over the role as protagonist. Alex no more, although the guitar. So, well, arguably, it's both Geddy and Alex who are in the role of protagonist here, because Alex is playing the guitar and Geddy is the voice of the protagonist. So they're both voices of the guitar Alex and Geddy are both voices of the protagonist in different ways. And so as Alex is playing the guitar, you have different soft notes and then hard notes, up and down, right? So that is reflecting the mood of the protagonist. He's confused, and yet he finds himself in an ecstatic state of mind because, wow, this is something beautiful. This is something worthwhile. Why was this buried? And so, essentially, this is what we have in this dystopian song is an homage to Ayn Rand's book Anthem, where the protagonist there discovers a light box, electricity, light, again, fire, Promethean, all of that, right? And so, same thing here. This discovery is very important because it's beneficial to mankind, I mean. And so, you have notes that fall gently like rain. Those are the soft acoustic parts that being played. And then you have high like a mountain, the heavier or higher pitch sound or lower. So this back and forth between high and low. And so as Alex is playing both high and low notes, it's reflecting, the structure is reflecting the content in the lyrics. So it's just magical. Okay. And then you get the strumming section after you get Alex or the protagonist playing around, tuning it, and then starting to play high and low notes on the neck, and then you get the strumming section, which is the transition to presentation. One of my favorite pieces, if not my favorite piece in the song 2112. This is just a magical song. It never gets old for me. All right, let me turn the page. So here, finally, you get this ping-ponging or oscillation or vacillation between the priest and the protagonist. Again, I did a video on Will Romano's book on Rush, specifically Moving Pictures, but he talks about all the albums leading up to that set the stage for Moving Pictures, if you will, and he talks about how Geddy steps into the role of the protagonist. He's an actor on the stage. He does the same thing in Caress of Steel for Fountain of Lamnath, the protagonist there. And there's some similarities here, but more differences than similarities. So you have Geddy trading acting roles. He's putting on the mask of the protagonist in the soft-spoken voice, and then when he's the priest, he's putting on another mask of the hard-edged, harsh, vindictive at times, an angry priest who don't want to give the young man or woman, the protagonist, the time of day regarding this lost relic, because art is verboten. It's forbidden in the society because it threatens their existence as they know it. Again, what we mean by that, it threatens the status quo, right? So they want to turn a deaf ear to the protagonist. So you get this ping-ponging between, as I said, the protagonist and the priest with respect to Geddy's vocals, which are just amazing. I love it when he sings soft-spoken, and I love his wailing at the same time. They're both great. This is the Rush I know and love. And then you get the heavy guitar with the drums. And then you get, I know it's most unusual, right, to come before you so. So let's look at those lyrics. But I found an ancient miracle I thought that you should know. Listen to my music and hear what it can do. There's something here as strong as life. I know that it will reach you. Now, those of you who are music fans, and if you're watching this video, of course, you're a music fan, this speaks volumes about why we love music so much. And I'm getting goosebumps while I'm talking about this, almost like I'm catching the flu. You know, you get the flu, you get those chills. That's how I'm feeling right now talking about this with you. Again, this is how passionate I am about Rush and about this song. So I'm sorry I get a little carried away here, but we'll get to more of that later. There's something here as strong as life. This is what Neil and the band think about music or art in general, and the protagonist here. Let me repeat. There's something here as strong as life. Whether it be Shakespeare, Rembrandt, whatever type of art you like, architecture, sculpture, pottery, art reflects life, life reflects art. It's like the chicken versus the egg, which came first. Doesn't matter. It's beautiful. So the band is just amazing here, lyrically, musically, you name it. The priests chime in. Yes, we know, right? It's great. It's nothing new, so they know about this. They're the ones who've buried it. It's just a waste of time. And this is what third world countries who have tyrants on the throne, or other countries who have tyrants on the throne, they don't want productivity. They don't want creativity. They want productivity. Here's what I mean. We have no need for ancient ways. Our world is doing fine. Another toy that helped destroy the elder race of man. Forget about your silly whim. It doesn't fit the plan. It doesn't fit their status quo. It doesn't fit their agenda. Okay? This will destroy us. Okay? It doesn't fit their plan, and yet they talk about equality in the previous part of the song. So this is that contradiction, right? the hypocrisy of it all. We have no need for ancient ways. Our world is doing fine. Yes, according to them, it's not doing fine for those who are stifled artistically, who have no voice. So art and music, art in general, and music specifically here, is an example of how people are given a voice. Our world is doing fine. Yes, for the elite here. The priests represent the elite who don't want change. And one of the themes in Rush's whole discography, constant change is here to stay, that's from a different song, right? But notion of change, how change, free will, right? Even if you've not made a choice, you still have, right? That if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice, that kind of thing. So a lot of this is just, runs throughout their literary catalog, if you will. So it's nothing new. It's just a waste of time. We know about this. We don't want this back in our lives, according to the priests. And then the protagonist, back to the soft-spoken Getty. I can't believe you're saying. These things just can't be true. So he's trying to convince, our world could use this beauty. Just think what we might do. And then the priest, don't annoy us further. We have our work to do, right? Just think about the average. I forgot the last part. Just think about the average, the bottom line, profit, right? What use have they for you? And there's that word. What use have they for you? Use. This is a utilitarian society. A utilitarian society in this dystopian world means a person is only as good as long as they are useful. Think Matrix. People's bodies are used as heat for BTUs. Right, their BTUs rather is used as a heat source for those electronic devices, those spider-like creatures in the Matrix. Same thing here, right? A person is only good as far as they are useful. Put them to work, right? All right. And of course that's hinted at in Red Sector A on Grace Under Pressure. You're only as good, referring to the Holocaust, that nightmare, that real nightmare, right? Not this fiction here, but the two are similar with respect to theme and learning how to be a better society. All right, so you have, as I said, this ping-ponging back in between the protagonist and the priest. You have the heavy guitar and drums. And then the end of the song of presentation. Arguably, Alex's best guitar solo of all time. I'm not sure if it's my favorite, but it's definitely my top 3. I would argue some days it is my favorite guitar solo. I listened to this 3 times before I started this video. I listened to it this morning, I listened to it last night, and I listened to it the previous night to get ready for this video. And I failed to mention at the beginning of this video, I've been wanting to do this for eons, way before I did my Caress of Steel retrospective, but I had a subscriber or a commentator, someone who posted in the comments, and I tried to look for their name. I couldn't find it, but I wanted to thank them because they reminded me how much I wanted to. Whoever you are out there, thank you so much for suggesting and putting in the request. Hey man, you got to do a retrospective 120-112, whether you meant the whole album or the song. I think you just meant the song, but thank you. So what a great guitar solo that ends presentation. It's so blistering. It's just amazing, and it's long. It's glorious. I want to say it's maybe even longer than Rock Bottom on UFO's Phenomenal. Either way, it's just fantastic. So after we get to presentation, we have Oracle the Dream. So we have the despairing tone that begins the song. You get this dreamy, reflective mindset of the protagonist. He's despairing because the priests have rejected him. And so it's back to same old, same day, same SHIT, different day kind of thing, right? And he's finding himself, low in a state of despair. He's brought down low. He's humbled by the priests. And then the drums kick in, and he gets a vision of the future. So let's take a look at that now. Possible future. It's unclear. I wandered home through silent streets and fell into a fitful sleep. often we will, when we're despairing, depressed, we'll take a nap, right? We don't know what else to do. We're so brought down, right? Escape to realms beyond the night. Dream, can't you show me light? So here's his dream. I stand atop a spiral stair. An oracle confronts me there. He leads me on light years away through astral nights, galactic days. I see the work of gifted hands grace this strange and wondrous land. I see the hand of man arise with hungry mind and open eyes. So in this future, and it's unclear if it comes true or not, that mankind has evolved into a better version of itself because now it's open-minded and thinking rationally. I continue. They left their planets long ago, that is the elder race still learn and grow. Their power grows with purpose strong to claim the home where they belong. So they're still around, and they want to get back to recapturing their control over the universe or the galaxy or whatever, this part of the world, this part of the universe, that sort of thing. Home, but then the protagonist says, home to tear the temples down, home to change. So this is where it's a little unclear. Who wants to tear the temples down? It's not the priests themselves. So it's a little bit muddied here, but I think that's done on purpose to keep you thinking. And I'm not sure what to make of this. I have ideas, but I won't venture in here because it's too muddled itself, and it's something I'm still working on. So overall, the Oracle the Dream is a more soft-spoken piece. It's meant to reflect, as I said, art. The structure will often, or in this piece, the structure reflects the mood. The structure reflects the content, right? And the content reflects the structure and that sort of thing. That doesn't always work in art, but it does definitely here. Excuse me. And then we get to part 6, soliloquy. But the transition between the two pieces is you get home to change, and you get change echoed, right? And then this part is even more despairing than the previous. So you get the waterfall. So you come back to the waterfall, perhaps that suggests this is where he lives. Maybe he set up camp where he found the guitar, because you get the waterfall piece earlier when he finds the guitar. It's unclear, but doesn't matter. This is kind of this full circle thing, right? And you get this nice acoustic part, and you get that kind of soundscapey feel layered within or underneath or on top of the acoustic. As I said, this is even more depressing and despairing. And he refers to his life as a cold and empty one. So let's take a look at the lyrics, and I'll talk about the music. The sleep is still in my eyes, so it's a groggy tone here and feel. The music reflects that grogginess. It's like he's just waking up from his dream. The dream is still in my head. I heave a sigh and sadly smile and lie a while in bed. We've all been there, being depressed. I wish that it might come to pass, not fade like all my dreams. And then here's the kicker. We always feel this way when we don't get what we want, right? Just think of what my life might be in a world like I have seen. That vision quest, that aspiring to greatness, a better world. Can I be part of that, right? Think Martin Luther King Jr. Think, so many people are good social justice warriors, not, the ones that are trying to reap in profit and that sort of thing. And then he says, I don't think I can carry on this cold and empty life. My spirits are low. In the depths of despair, my lifeblood spills over. So he deletes himself, and which is extremely sad. This is a very sad piece of the story, and it's not a happy ending. And then, before we talk about the last piece of the song, when he deletes himself, you get this extremely compelling, motivating, emotive, and moving, fabulous guitar solo from Alex. And again, reflects the mood of what the protagonist is feeling and how tragic this is. This is a tragic tale for this protagonist. And then ironically, or whatever you want to call it, we segue into the grand finale. So we've come full circle because this part is instrumental, except for the voiceover, which I'll talk about in a minute. So this is upbeat. It's back to heavy music. You've got an upbeat feel here. You've got some great riffing from Alex. The drums are amazing. The bass is like, I'm listening to it this morning on headphones, and it's like, wow. And so you have great guitar riffing. You have great drums. You have great bass. The synergy here is at its best in so many ways. This whole song, this whole album. But here it's coming to that climax. And of course, because it's the end of the song coming up. And then you get this amazing solo, which has almost a necromancer feel to it in spaces from the previous album. And then the drums are the outro here. Dun, 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 right? And then, I didn't do that right, but, and then you get the voiceover, right? Attention all planets of the Solar Federation. Attention all planets of the Solar Federation. We have soon control. We have soon control. And you're back to that hum, that reverbing echo hum-like thing that takes place, and then the song ends. And goosebumps. All right. Now there's two interpretations of the ending, and it ties back to the dream that the nameless protagonist has or had. And there's a documentary on the making of 2112, which I used to have, and I'm not sure whether. So let me say this. So in that documentary, Geddy gives his interpretation of the ending, and Neil gives his interpretation of the ending, and I forget which one says that, which one is which, but one of them says that their interpretation, I think it's Neil who says, but again, I could be wrong. I think it's Neil who says is that the cavalry has come in and that the people are rescued from the priest overlords. And then Geddy, again, I could have this opposite, chimes in and says, no, this is out of the frying pan and into the fire, that the people who have assumed control are menacing, and then it's just returned to the status quo, but with a different tyrant on the throne, so to speak. And so if we take Geddy's interpretation, if I have him right, it doesn't matter either way. If we have that last interpretation correct, this is how many of us English teachers teach Lord of the Flies, where the boys are rescued on the island, but are they really rescued? Because the boat that they join, that they aboard, is a war boat. It's a battle cruiser or something like that. And so that's the author's way of telling you, well, now they're in the man's world, because what happens on that island is a microcosm of the breakdown of civilization that's taking place because the world is at war, because it's World War II. So two different interpretations. So it begs the question, if we go back to the oracle, right? Will the future be the priests are pushed outside and they're trying to get the control back? Will the temples be broken down? That sort of thing. It's extremely unclear. So that ambiguity, as I've spoken before, I talked about ambiguities. There's some unclear stuff going on here. That's, I think, done on purpose, because there is a purpose behind ambiguity. It opens up to interpretation, right? It allows you to discuss. It allows you to bounce ideas. There's no beating you over the head. So, some of the strongest literary works out there is the stuff, whether music or written word, poetry, drama, novel, you name it, movies, is the stuff that makes you keep thinking and you're not done. It's something you return to, right? So this notion of, I can interpret it this way, I can interpret it another. So it has that, because of that ambiguity, there's a certain immortality to it, right? Because we're going to keep discussing, well, how does this actually turn out? Well, we don't know. And there's a certain beauty in that. And so essentially what I'm saying is that the best kind of art is the kind, or at least where there are words, is the kind where you're not told what happens. You have to draw your own conclusions. You make an inference. And so there you have it. That's the end of the song 2112. I'll come back to the song, but I want to do side 2 now. So on side 2, we start with A Passage to Bangkok. And this is one of Rush's heavier tunes of this period. You have that that Asian imitation of Asian culture. Some might find that offensive at the time. That's not meant to be. Anyway, so you have this great guitar riffing and playing that opens the song. And this is one of those Rush songs that is that light and shade that I talked about in previous videos, that Jimmy Page philosophy of light and shade, bouncing back and forth between soft or lighter moods and then heavier guitar-driven stuff, right? Or drums and bass. But here, it's Geddy's voice again, like 2112. You have that bouncing back and forth between that light and shade with respect to his voice, the wailing, but also the soft-spoken bits as well, or lesser harsh vocals, right? The less, not wailing. This is the most poetic song about pot smoking that there is, I think, out there. I am not one of those people that partakes in that sort of thing, never have. But despite the lyrical content of the song, for me, what I like about the song is the music itself. The music is just amazing. You want to, do it with different lyrics. I'm on board for that. But it is what it is, and this is one of the highlights of their career. Perhaps one of their best songs. I love the live version of this as well. So light and shade, and then I love the part where you get the fragrance of Afghanistan rewards a long day's toil. The phrasing there, the whole thing about the song. One of the things I love about the song is the phrasing that Geddy has here. It's very emotive and passionate, despite the fact that it's about pot smoking, but as I said, it's very poetic, and it's also a travel song, if you want to look at it that way. That's how I kind of look at it sometimes, smoking stuff aside. So you get, where was I? Anyway, I lost. The fragrance of Afghanistan I mentioned because that's when the guitar solo kicks in, give or take, thereabouts right after. And the solo thereabouts is just amazing. This is one of the best solos of Alex of all time, including the live version. And then you have the fade out at the end of the song, which I think is a nice touch. It lends, dun-dun-dun, and then we go into Twilight Zone. And Twilight Zone is my least favorite song on here, but I still like it. Just because it's my least favorite doesn't mean I don't like it. Now, what's interesting is that throughout the song you have the creepy, haunting tone of Alex's guitar. And while it's not exactly like Don't Fear the Reaper, it has a similar feel, even though the notes and chords are different. But it has again, the structure of the guitar playing is meant to reflect the lyrics and the content of the song. Overall, the song is quirky, yet captivating. I was a Twilight Zone fan as a young child, still am today. My favorite Twilight Zone episode, we had to read this in 8th grade, was The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. And while that particular short story is not in the song, you have the guy with 3 eyes, which is the clerk behind the counter in the ice cream parlor, the giant boy, and there's a third one, I think. But overall, you have this narrative style singing from Geddy at parts. You have the creepy, haunting guitar motif that comes in and out of the song. But for me personally, what I like about the song is the message, how it's relevant today, how at least many of us feel that we're in the Twilight Zone because we look around and we see people doing things and we're like, I'm not doing that. Am I missing something here? Is it opposite day? Is everyone doing things you're not supposed to be doing? And now it's okay that, I don't want to get into the details of that, but I just feel like, some days I feel like, gosh, what's going on, right? And people in my generation, I'm in my 50s, soon to be late 50s, and in February, and we often think, and I can't speak for other generations or everyone in my generation, but we talk about how, what kind of world are we living in where let's say let's talk about manners. Manners have seemed to go out the window these days, right? And so you're like, am I in a Twilight Zone? Where did the manners go, right? That kind of thing. So anyway, and then finally, the closing guitar piece is haunting, like Blue Oyster Cult, but different, as I said. And the bass and drums are quiet, because this song isn't about the heavy. It's about, the chilling effect of being in a place you're not it's out of your comfort zone. That's what the Twilight Zone is whether a literal or a metaphor. And so it's just a great ending, I think. And then we come to Lessons. This is an underrated song. This is the Alex Lifeson lyrics written song. You have a great, nice acoustic intro. This is also a song that's about light and shade. It bounces back and forth between light moments and heavier moments. This song, Lessons, reminds me a bit of the presentation section of 2112, that light and shade, that bouncing back and forth, as I said. It also reminds me, because of the acoustic feel, the acoustic guitar parts here remind me of Making Memories on Fly By Night, but heavier. And it also reminds me of, in a little bit, ways of In the End on Fly By Night as well. Vocally, it has that feel that In the End does. This is a great song. As I said, it's underrated. It's a song about learning. It's also a song about the pains of not listening. No, you didn't listen again. And then you get that great solo, right? It's just in blistering, right? It's great. Thematically rich, great soloing, great guitar licks. It has almost a Jimmy Page feel at times. And I've always said, in my head at least, this is probably the first time I'm saying this album makes me realize in many ways how, metaphorically speaking, Alex Lifeson is Jimmy Page on steroids. Anyway, so you have this amazing solo layered on top of it. This is great. You have this amazing solo that's layered on top of acoustic bits that close out the song, which is fabulous. What a great technique for this song. Is amazing. And then we come to the Geddy Lee lyrics written song called Tears. This is one of 2 or 3 songs where this only time in those 2, 3 or 4 songs where Rush have dived close to doing an actual love song. This is probably the closest. You have Entre Nous and Different Strings on Permanent Waves, maybe another one, Ghost of a Chance. Those 4 songs are the closest Rush has ever gotten to a true love song, and they're all great, I think. But this is the most moving of those 4, and perhaps the most emotionally moving, sad, thought-provoking song about love. In addition, this song has the same vibe or similar vibe to Panacea on Caress of Steel in the Fountain of Lameth track on side 2. And even the lyrics are similar to Panacea, because he says, I noticed that my body was weak for you. And that's something similar said in Panacea there. The lyrics are just great. So let's take a look at some of those lyrics. What would touch me deeper? Tears that fall from eyes that only cry. Question mark, rhetorical question. Would it touch you deeper than tears that fall from eyes that know why? And then the closing lyrics. A lifetime of questions, tears on your cheek. I tasted the answers, and my body was weak for you, the truth. And then you get the chorus again. This is a fabulous song. Again, I have a long sleeve shirt on, and I'm getting lyrics. This song in high school, when I had to play this, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, because I believe what Shakespeare believed, that a real man cries when it's the right moment, but not so much now. But I do feel emotionally tearing up, but not actually tearing up when I listen to the song every time, because it's that good, it's that emotive. But in high school, I would play this because I want to listen to the album, and then it would remind me of my own emotional fragile state, and I would have like a little corner wet. I wouldn't like, sobbing wet, but I have like a little, I get This is a very emotional song. Some people have argued that Epitaph from King Crimson makes them cry, literally, and so this would be my version of that. So anyway, Tears is a great song. And then finally, we get the last track, which is more light and shade. So you see a theme here with respect to the album, that this album is full of light and shade stuff. This is one of the reasons why, so many reasons why this album is so fantastic. So, and that's the song Something for Nothing. One of their heaviest tracks. You have a great intro, a great acoustic intro, and then it shifts to heavy quick, sooner than later. It has this shift, this heavy shift. has a 2112 feel to it. Back to that, it reminds me of that song in many ways. So kind of like the album coming full circle, whether intentional or not. But the overall production maybe has something to do with that. Excuse me. And then you get more Geddy wailing in the song when he's singing at that high register. Again, back and forth between soft and heavy singing from Geddy. The drums too are phenomenal. Still has that 2112 vibe to it as well. And then the chorus, "What you own is your own kingdom. What you own." Let's take a look at some of that. I'm pretty sure that the lyrics, "You won't get wise with the sleep still in your eyes, no matter what your dream might be," is a paraphrase or word for word from Benjamin Franklin. And as far as "What you own is your own kingdom, what you do is your own story," etc., I think that might be Benjamin Franklin as well. But either way, this is a great poetic piece, again, from Neil and the gang. Neil wrote these lyrics, and paraphrasing or not, from a founding father of this country. And again, it has that feel of 2112. So while this isn't part of the 2112 song, what's great about the song is it gives you back to the theme of 2112 in the notion of let your heart be the anchor and the beat of your own song. You have to make your own song, your own life, regardless of what others want you to do. So this notion of being your own person in the song is reminding us, or I think it's meant to remind us of what takes place in 2112. So let me talk about my overall view of this album, this wonderful masterpiece. I could argue that Rush has 2 magnum opuses, maybe even 3. Well, let me just tell you, my 3 favorite Rush albums is this one, 2112, Farewell to Kings, and Moving Pictures. Anyway, so let me give you my overall view of this album. Alex plays with such amazing feel, tone, soul, and drive. There's just great blistering licks, riffs, and solos. Geddy is a wonderful actor on the stage. He has great light and shade to his voice. His wails are so powerful and emotive. His soft-spoken bits and in-between bits are amazing as well. His bass playing is phenomenal. Neil, amazing heart, technique, skill, soul, wonderful fills, and dramatic flair. And there's the key phrase. This is the key to this album. This is the key to all 3 members on this album, and maybe their career as a whole. Yes, great dramatic flair. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful holiday season. Bye now.